back. The 2019-2020 Toronto Maple Leafs season and the NHL season as a whole have begun. I didn't post any comments regarding the Leafs preseason because I was, with everything that's going on in my life, it was like I could only watch games in fits and starts here and there, but it was a typical preseason. They didn't do all that well, especially at the start, because they have they're testing out all their young guys and seeing what they have. And as it kind of unfolded and wound down and they got more of the regulars in the lineup, then they started winning and started looking more like themselves, which, you don't read too much into the preseason, I think, in any sport. So I wasn't too concerned about anything. But last night, the Leafs opened up against Ottawa at home. And as they did the player introductions, as expected, they named a captain and did it on ice during the introductions. And the 25th captain in Leafs history is John Tavares, which to me makes the most sense. I mean, I think eventually the torch will be passed from him to Matthews because Matthews is so much younger than Tavares. I think it's the perfect way to kind of lead it into eventually being Matthews' team. In the meantime, he can watch Johnny T, who has been a captain before and who is one of the best players in the game. And I think it's the perfect kind of fit, right? So, to the action, the Leafs' first period was not bad. They outshot Ottawa. They took it to them for the most part, but Ottawa got on the board. I think it was like 25 seconds in. They just a little turnover by Marner inside the blue line, and ex-Leaf Connor Brown took it deep and got the puck to Tkachuk, who put it in past Anderson, and Ottawa was out for an early 1-0 lead, which pissed me off. But the Leafs, you could tell, were just building to something in the first period. After that goal, they kind of took over and they just couldn't get past the other Anderson at the other end of the rink. But in the second period, it was like they must have gone, like, during the first intermission, gone like, yeah, guys, we were okay in the first period, but these guys are a bunch of jokers. Like, let's just go out and pound them. And that's what they did. They outshot them grossly. I think Ottawa only had 2 shots in the period. One of them went in. But and it was some balanced scoring too. The first 2 goals of the game were Freddie Gauthier and Trevor Moore, 2 of their bottom 6 forwards. On Gauthier's on the 4th line. I think Moore might be too. Maybe he's on the 3rd. But so they got a couple of the lower lights scoring, which was great to see. And then Ottawa got one in the middle of the period, but Matthews also responded and then got another power play goal at near the end of the period. So the Leafs were up 4-2 going into the third. And then the teams traded goals in the third period. And the Leafs goal was a real nice setup by Tyson Barrie. A little spinorama at the blue line with a nice saucer pass across the crease. And Ilya Mikheyev, one of the Leafs young guys that played his first game, got his first goal. And I noticed he was one of the guys I noticed during training camp. He's just a big Russian dude who seems to have a lot of skill. And I didn't know if he was going to make the lineup or not because the Leafs have a lot of good players, but he did, and I was happy to see that because, like I said, he was one of the guys that stood out to me. Overall, the Leafs, their power play went 1 for 5. It had an 0 for 3 start in the first period, and they had some chances. They just couldn't seem to find the finish, but then they went 1 for 2 the rest of the game, so they started to find it. They got out hit and out face-offed in this game, which surprised me, at least the face-offs anyway. So those are 2 areas where I hope they can at least... they're a really good face-off team. They got too many good centers, so that'll even itself out. But it is the physical play for them that will need to be ramped up to some degree. They're not that physical of a team, but I'd like to see them not get out-hit grossly to the likes of an Ottawa team like they did last night. But new players in the lineup, they had a lot of them. Tyson Barrie on defense came in and did exactly what I thought he was going to do. He's another Riley type of player, and he was really good. Dermott's out still on D, so they had to play Marincin as their 6th defenseman, and he had a solid game. There was no real holes there. And yeah, a lot of the new young guys in the lineup did great, like Mikheyev. Nick Shore was the only guy I didn't really notice do all that much. But a lot of the bottom feeders like Gauthier and Moore and the guys that scored, they did really well. And then the top line was the top line. Matthews scored 2 goals. Marner fed him with a beautiful no-look pass on one of them. Tavares picked up an assist. Their top players played well. And Anderson was a little he made some really big saves from time to time, but then he also let in 3 on when Ottawa only got, I don't know, 26 shots or something like that. So I know he probably won't be happy with that, but first game of the season, you kind of give everybody a mulligan if they don't kind of have the best game, right? So and then there was a turning point in the second period, maybe, when Hainsey scored. Lots of ex-Leafs, Hainsey, Brown, Zaitsev, and Ennis were all in the Ottawa lineup who left the Leafs last year. So Hainsey scored a goal, but the Leafs video crew picked up an offside and challenged it and took that goal away. And that was kind of the turning point in the second period, where the Leafs fed off of and just kind of then started to blow the doors off of them, which was nice. So it was the Leafs game all the way. They were still outplaying Ottawa no matter what, but they just couldn't seem to solve Anderson at first. But then the floodgates kind of opened, and they did pick up the win. And what really pleased me with this game, outside of a Leafs win and the start of the season and everything and the new captain and all that, is that I really don't like the Tkachuk family. I didn't like Keith Tkachuk when he played back in the day, and I definitely don't like his sons, especially Matthew and Calgary. They just all have this cocky kind of arrogance, which, if you're American, I'm sorry, but that kind of screams American player to me, not the humble Canadian player who just goes out and does their thing. And so when Brady Tkachuk, got the first goal of the game, and he started freaking out, it pissed me off. But then the Leafs, 2 of the Leafs goals they got, Tkachuk made a bad giveaway on the one, and then he was in the box for the power play goal. And then near the end of the game, he also got hit in the face or something and had to go to the dressing room. So it was kind of like, that all evened out nicely. So that was kind of the other kind of storyline that I quite enjoyed from the game. So but yeah, overall, a 5-3 win opening night versus Ottawa. Ottawa's not a great team, so I was kind of hoping they could keep the goals against down a little, but it is what it is. It's 2 points, and it's only the first game of the season, so they will only hopefully get better and better as the season rolls on. So next game is Friday in Columbus, I believe, but I have ball hockey that night, so I may not see the entire game or whatever, but I will definitely rewatch it, or at least chunks of it, and throw in my 2 cents, which are worth 2 cents. Have a good one.